Hi everybody. Before I start another rambly video about these speakers, which I've had up like this for a few months now with upgrades of course, which we shall talk about. We can barely see it because they're so black. But before we start rambling about that, what I want you to do is go click on the link in the description and go buy Infinity Train books 1 and 2 on DVD. I gave away my DVD copies to a crazy old man I'm kind of sort of friends with. And all I have left is my VHS bootlegs, which I don't have a VCR in here, but I'm thinking I might need to put one. Yes, I have VHS bootlegs of it, because it seemed so unlikely that they would ever come out with it on physical media. I made bootlegs, just so I'd have, a copy of it, to watch. But anyways, so we have Infinity PS28 sub, and the JBL Arena 130s, which are very unobtainium at the moment. So let's start out with, we'll talk about this movie. Oh, turn on the light. And I keep wanting to call it Elysium, that's the name of the ship, or something. Anyways, the movie's called Pandorum. And I watched this movie, I had the HLS 610s up there before that were upside down. And I kind of liked them a little bit better than the Arena one. You can barely see those. I liked them a little bit better than the Arena 130s because of the way the waveguides kind of mesh together, because they had a similar waveguide and it was upside down, so the waveguides kind of met. But they're a little shrill. They're old man JBLs. They're not designed for reference level home theater playback. So watching this movie with those speakers and the JBL E250p sub at the time still, it was okay, these surround channels, I put these up and I watched this movie again. I turned them down a little bit, and I didn't actually use the decibel meter at first. I just kind of eared it, and then I watched it again. It was a much better experience. They're hold on, let me show you my volume levels. Oh no, warm up. So we got front left 0. Center -1, front right, and I turned them down a little bit. I used to have them at -1, but I actually calibrated, and it's better that way. See, sub -1. Anyways, the fact that they're not upside down, I think it helps. When you sit on the side, if you were watching with somebody. It's better having them up like this because it makes the tweeter farther away. It makes the tweeter noise have to pass through the bass driver noise, and it's a little less harsh. And I've noticed sometimes when you sit off axis on the sides like this, it actually, the whole system images better actually. So then I started playing this. Actually, obviously I have a PS3 now, super slim PS3. I have it in there like that because it won't tip over that way. At least I don't know. Couldn't think of anything better. Which, if I want to turn this sideways to put it in there, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to put AV racks in the corners, or one AV rack that I don't know. Anyways, I started playing this, and then I realized that having the surround channel set to -1 was a little bit too loud. So I turned them down to -4, and I kind of rotated the camera. These work. I was going to say how these work really well as surround channels for these. Except for video games, because you could tell the tonal, obviously the best thing for any video game is just to have 5 of the same speaker, which you could when these go on sale for $200 a piece. But these are probably a better choice of surround channel still than the 530s, because the 530s, they can't play loud enough, and they port chuff, even if you have them across the 80 hertz. I just don't think the 530s would work good as surround channels for these, which I'll probably babble more about in the review for those, but we're talking about this system right now. So besides 5.1 video games, these do a pretty good job of blending with these. Now I'll have to ramble about the settings. See, this receiver, the lowest it can cross is 80 hertz, and sometimes that doesn't work. See, what I do is normally have everything set to large. So every channel plays its own, and if there's a 0.1, then the sub comes in. But if you have it in Pro Logic, it will not send anything to the sub unless you go to, oops, I'm adjusting the channel level instead. Oh wait, it's this button. System setup. See front, probably can't see it. Large, large, large. Subwoofer, yes. You could step that up to, oh wait, no. Subwoofer mode normal. You step that up to plus, main, and it'll like play the full range bass note and everything, but then send the bass information to the sub also, which that's the way I would listen to Pro Logic movies. Like, I basically listen to Short Circuit 2 that way. And it works good because it's an older movie, and everything's playing its own bass just fine. You get a little bit of extra bass, but normally you wouldn't want to do that. Like if you're playing a Pro Logic video game, what you want to do is set all these to small, and then that way to cross them, because it works. This sub, it works crossed over at 80 hertz. Like that's the other rambly part is all the time you have to go. Certain times you want it to be large, all large, and certain times you want it to be all small. And I kind of wish there was a button that could just be like, it's all small, all kind of like a direct button, but for like all the speakers, basically. Basically, if you use a receiver like this, you'll have to kind of, because like certain albums, when you listen to it in Pro Logic 2 cinema mode, all set to large, so nothing goes to the sub. It's better than having a sub because the speaker can handle, if it's the right kind of album, the way just having all these handle their own, it doesn't need a sub, and it enhances the stereo imaging. And you see the bass on these speakers, it blends really well with these because they actually have the same size port tube. Like the port plugs from these will fit in these. These should have came with the same port plugs as these, because these actually will, if you use them on a desk or in like a living room or something, it's too much bass, you can stuff the port and they work really well as acoustic suspension. But I'm just rambling again. So anyways, albums that you're listening to that you're choosing not to use the sub, like with these as the surround channels, when I upgraded to using these over the HLX 610s, you could tell how like the out of phase bass was like when like giving you the womp womps back here, and like it works really well. And let's talk about movies too. Like talk about this. So should you set your surround channels to small or not? Or the fronts to small? What I find is that generally most movies, if it's a 5.1 movie, you can have everything set to large, and that way most of the really deep bass, they'll just have it mixed into the 0.1 channel. So theoretically, for most movies, you could have all these set to large, and it'll be better that way because, okay, so what I did was, I unplugged all the main channels, and I was testing like whether or not to have the surround speaker set to small. So I had everything in the front unplugged, so it's just the sub and the surround channels. And I was watching the part through the wormhole, and there's this one part where when they're going to, I don't remember the time code, but there's this one part where there's a little bit of womp womps happening in the surround channels, but then when you set them to small and have that womp womps go to the sub, you don't notice it as much because it's diluting it with the LFE channel information. So if you had like, bam, all of those, this is kind of a hard thing to A/B test. Like watch a movie all set to small, watch a movie, I don't know. But theoretically, it'll be a much cleaner experience because you're getting the bass coming out of here and everything's making its own. As long as there's nothing mixed into those channels where it's like, theoretically it wouldn't have anything mixed into those channels that's below 50 hertz or something. But I guess maybe if you watch the movie where you're like, okay, there's too much bass coming out of there, then you'd know, next time I play that movie, I need to set it to small. But so far, I haven't watched a movie. Well, perhaps Interstellar. So when you're watching Interstellar on this you can see this when they're set to large. You see the surround bass just going nuts. Oh yeah, and let me just make sure my levels are correct, because I accidentally messed with that. Okay, so the other thing I was trying to mumbling to explain was, so normally when you would calibrate this, you'd have your microphone set here, and you'd play a test tone on everything, make everything 75 dB. But in order to do that on this, I'd have to make like the main left and right, probably like plus 1 or 2 dB. And I basically didn't want to, I wanted to be able to just set it at 0 all the way up to where it's, bam, 0, and have it be where it's safe. So if you're watching it at 0, it's like a couple, maybe 2 to 3 dB like below reference level, and it's plenty loud enough. So if I calibrate it for sitting a little closer, I could probably get it where it's at reference, but it's fine. I'm probably going to change this setup because this couch is very uncomfortable. But one interesting thing I've noticed is that this crazy bass that goes on here, I'm not sure if it's the combination of these speakers playing large, but I swear sometimes you watch stuff and it's like, it feels like reality is warping. Because this was initially in here just for holding the way it used to be. It wasn't meant to sit on this like this. I just kind of made it the best compromise I could, because, like I said, if you had that lower, it'd probably be more blurry. So that was kind of a little farther. It cheats it being so close by having it farther away that way. Kind of like makes the surround channels. If I could just like add like 5 extra feet to the room in that direction, that'd be super. But I can't do that. I could. Wait, no, I couldn't, because the heater air conditioner in there. So that wouldn't work. Yeah, even if I wanted to. Anyways, though. So let's talk kind of more coherently about what the speakers sound like. So the thing that I kind of have a fetish for this line of speakers is like how it's kind of like a real movie theater LCRs, the way they kind of like, they're good enough to play the program information. It goes up to 15 kilohertz, whatever. It's kind of good enough, but it's kind of like hi-fi sounding too. It kind of takes the harsh edge. Like, it's very rare that you watch anything that is like unpleasant, except for this actually. I watched this movie at 0, which is a little below reference level, and it was too loud. I should have turned it down. It was very screechy and just, gosh, unpleasant. Maybe that was the sound mix. I'll have to. This movie had some good stuff in it, but I actually watched it again, and it's like, this is like worse than I remembered. Bad. I have to try listening to it again on something else, anyways. See if it's that shrill sounding. And I think part of that is because this receiver is pretty good, but you definitely want something. You probably want something with DSP. What I want to do is get like a surround processor, and then have monoblock those SMSL amps I have on my thing over there. Have one of those SMSL amps per speaker and have it bi-amped, and have a surround processor that all separate stuff like that. But for now, I'm just using it. It's like for movies. It's most of the time it seems like it's good enough. Like I said though, when you play music on it in 5.1, like you need to be like, sometimes you need to turn on the sub crossover. Oh, and that's the other thing too, is with this sub, you can have it set to like as high as 120 hertz, and it's still less noticeable. Like less noticeable that it's just coming from that side than the JBL sub was, which is surprising. Oh yeah, let's play a movie clip, I guess. We're gonna play a clip from this. Oh, and turn your speakers down, by the way, because it's going to sound distorted, but it doesn't. That's just the SPL's like peaking the microphone. It doesn't sound distorted at all in real life. It sounds clean as hell in real life, but the distorting is a clue to like the volume level. But yeah, anyways, turn your volume down when I play this clip. Now.
Oops.
Oh my god, the first time I saw that movie, I saw it in here, just like that. Which, by the way, I'll talk about that later. I have to kind of downgrade the picture quality to make scope movies be like that, but it's a compromise. I mean, how can I not have it set up this way for like a while? And it's been a while. I thought I would have done something different by now, but I guess that's what this video is about. It's just like talking about it for, historical reference, in case anyone's weirdo out there who does all this for funsies. But yeah, it's a really tight, like premium sound. Like, you know how you go into a movie theater, it's kind of like a small to mid-sized kind of auditorium, but it still has like bass, like, damn, this auditorium is small, but it's like, it gives such a level of, and then when you put it with small too, when you play music, it integrates much better than that big JBL did. I mean, like when it did that explosion, it's like, yeah, you kind of tell it's coming from one side, and you kind of want two of them, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll have two of something else. I don't know, we'll see. But it's definitely like, oh my god, premium. It's so tight, and I got two rear ports, by the way. Let's check them out. and this one's kind of blocking this, but I didn't want to like move this because I have these. By the way, I was playing like DJ Smokey. I had it up all the way, so this was playing in Pro Logic mode with set to small, going to the sub, and this plate amp will get really hot if you abuse it. You don't have to worry about it if you're just watching just movies, but if you're like booming music with this, you don't want to do it for too long because this whole plate amp was getting like red hot. I want to check it out. It's got a separate LFE input. It's got an LFE input and then 2 stereo inputs that you can both play from. So you'd have like a copy of your mains going in here and then set the cross cutoff point, and then you can have your LFE going here that's just unchanged by that. So it's kind of interesting. Oh, and when I was playing Doom 3, I was using this Battlefield 4 controller, which is not wireless. You have to have a special wire plugged into here. The one it comes with is like deep enough to fit in there, so don't lose it. And the problem with that game is you have to like hold that to sprint and hold that to crouch. Doesn't even have a toggle. It's like you're expected to just hold that to crouch. So I set it to where like this is, one of these was sprint and one of these was crouch, and it made a much better experience. It was a lot of fun playing that with this. Oh, and the other problem with this is for Doom 1 and 2, the surround sound is like broken. So if you play it in 5.1, it's like it's backwards or something. So basically when you play old school Doom on this, just set the PlayStation to just stereo, like turn off Dolby Digital and DTS. So it's just playing in stereo, and then you can just use Pro Logic or whatever. Really, oh yeah. And in this movie, the news interview asked this woman a question, just real quick, and I always thought she said, "I hope they bring back elephants." Like I always thought she said that, but I listened to it on this system. I think it was back when I had the JBL sub, and I heard her. For the first time, I heard her say, "I hope they bring back Elvis." I was like, "Oh, it's Elvis." I like it when I thought it was elephants, though. I hope they bring back elephants. Like, what the fuck does that mean? There's elephants. That's why it was so awesome, because it's like such a weird fucking line that some weird random person would probably say. If you like, what the. So sometimes having better dialogue is not better, because it just ruins shit forever, and you can't enjoy it anymore. And I didn't have it here, but Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I like that one. People don't like that one, but that's kind of my favorite. I don't know. Anyways, I was playing that one. I had the JBL sub, the E250p, and the HLS 610s. That was if you want to like test your shrillness of your system, play that movie. Play the part where the ladies, they're at the campfire and ladies running around screaming. It was like, I'm like, oh my god, it's so shrill. I wanted to turn it down because I had it all the way up to 0. And it's just like, it adds shrillness when it had the 610s. I'll have to watch that movie again. And I suppose you get a little bit of shrillness from these sometimes, just because like when they're 6 ohms, and this receiver does push them really well. This receiver claims to be more powerful than 6 ohms, which is probably the only one I've ever had where I kind of sort of believe that, because it pushes these really well. But you have to run your air conditioning too, especially in the summer. Even in the winter, sometimes you have to run the air conditioning especially if you're playing it all set to large. You gotta play the air conditioning so the receiver doesn't overheat. But generally, if you're just watching a movie, even if you're watching Interstellar, well, now if you're watching Interstellar, you should definitely have the air conditioning on, because it's gonna all those random parts where there's bass flying out of the surround channels. Well, no, those aren't 6 ohms. Those are 8 ohms. They're kind of inefficient though. But yeah, and the plate amp on that gets hot. That's why I'm not sure if I want to have 2 of them, because you'd have 2 of those in here with plate amps getting hot, and the TV gets hot. It pumps air at the back, and the PS3 gets hot. Anyways, let's show the process of setting up the screen for a movie. Where's the control? So what we do is display settings, output, HDMI, custom, turn off 720p. So it's just 480p, then you select, you say okay, then you select 4:3. It has to make the screen switch, even though it's not changing the video format, it's just changing the aspect ratio, which does not need to make the screen skip like that, you weird PS3. You save, finish, and then what you do is 4:3 zoom 1, and then you go +7, and voila. If you're watching a scope movie, it will appear up there. like you have seen in the part where it went boom boom in the explosion. And you're obviously losing some resolution, but it's only 720p TV anyways, and it's a flawed solution, but I had to run it this way for a while. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, so I don't know. Let's just ramble about this some more. Let's demonstrate some of the picture-in-picture capabilities of this TV. We're going to play Gran Turismo 4 and Gran Turismo 5 at the same time and have audio and video for both. Let's demonstrate. Okay, so that first clip was Gran Turismo 4 in 4x3 40p, and then Gran Turismo 5 in 4x3 40p, and this one is both are 1080i 16:9, and this TV is picky about doing it like this way. Like, the only way to get it this way is with two 1080i signals. Like, if you tried to feed Gran Turismo 5 in 720p, it wouldn't let you do it like this, so it has to be both 1080i to do it like this. Alright, let's try swapping them. Do it like that, and then switch this one. Oops. You can move it around, by the way. Let's switch this one to that one. There, now the picture is swapped, and let's swap the audio over too. Let's see. Now that's the audio on the PS2 version. And then we'll go back to audio on the PS3 version. So what you could do also is, like in the other clip, see that when it has when it's highlighted green like that, it means the sound is coming from that. So the way you can have it have both be playing, because right now it's just one or the other coming out of the surround sound. The way I had it in the other clip was for Gran Turismo 5, it was selected on it, and then it was coming out of the variable audio to that amp back there, and then coming out of those speakers. So in the first clip, the sound for Gran Turismo 4 is coming out of the surround sound, and then the sound for Gran Turismo 5 was coming out of these speakers here. Which I didn't bother to set the sound to go both, I'm just was switching it back and forth on the receiver. Why do we need new Gran Turismos? I mean, like, you can't tell the difference. This Nissan GTR R34 N1 1999, by the way, on both of those. So let's talk about the ways I add music to video games. So Gran Turismo 5, it has a way where you can add like WAV files, but like it doesn't tell you which ones you've added and which one. Like, I tried using it, it was so like flawed the way it worked. I just stick with my old method, which is what my old method is just have extra speakers to play the music. You can add the music into the game that way. So we've gone ahead, we've set the picture and sound back to just only playing Gran Turismo 5. And let's describe how we set the sound up to come out of those. So my analog audio outputs come out of this. Like, the optical cable goes to this. Oh, by the way, this is the optical cable for the PS3. Kind of sticks out, but what are you gonna do? It's the optical cable. If I want to listen to music, it has optical cable that goes to that, but like, when I want to have the sound come out of those, they come out of the analog output and they go into the input on this TV, but the input on this TV will not let you use the analog coming from the analog when it's HDMI, so you have to use the component, because the HDMIs both have a component, and you kind of sort of use either or on the input. So what you have to do is switch the input to this, to component, and then unplug this and plug this in real quick, because if it has both, it won't recognize either. This is why this is unplugged now, because it's HDMI. So you change it to this, and then choose 720p, and then obviously just keep the audio going to the optical out, and then it will accept the analog out, and the analog goes to this, and then gives you volume control. It comes out the variable output into that amp to power these. Which, by the way, I have a lid that goes on that when it's not being used. Even if I'm not using this amp and I'm using this system, I take the cover off because I'm afraid it'll rattle and disturb my experience. So yeah, PS2 over there, by the way. I really like playing Gran Turismo with surround. It's kind of cool, you know, when you're racing, you hear people like crashing and behind you, and like it is really realistic. I have this, typically when I play this, I have all the speakers set to large, and because it makes all the boom booms come out of the sub really properly. Like when you crash your car and stuff, it's very realistic. It comes out the sub. But like 90% of the game when I'm playing it, I just have music playing in Pro Logic 2 movie mode or whatever. Because it's just like car noises the whole time, it's just irritating. But like, you really appreciate the surround sound when you're playing this. like the Doom monsters, they come and they make a, and it sounds really premium on that. I love it. And then watching this with this sub, it was pretty kick-ass. Kind of made me want 2 of them. And then of course Transformers movies. Those were really fun to watch on this. Oh, and I messed up. The thing I meant to say at the beginning is the reason I didn't bother buying myself another set of the DVDs was because the DVDs they pushed it to the minimum so badly. They don't have 5.1 audio. It's like I don't feel the need to replace the DVDs I gave to that old man I sort of kind of friends with. Like, I'll buy it eventually, but you guys need to go buy the DVD in the link in the description and just talk about how they don't have. They push it to the minimum. Like, it's this bootleg level. Granted, it's only $10. Like, come on, guys, why can't you release it on Blu-ray? Anyways, and another thing I forgot, like even last review, it's like the first review I've done sober in like forever. But when I had these in the trap house, I was mumbling about something I was gonna say is that the center channels should have magnetic shielding because like they're still near electronics and stuff, so stuff kind of should still have magnetic shielding, which these don't, but I guess they kind of can't really. I don't know. Every time I make a review, I'll have to like make other parts of the review where like I forgot to say this, and like it's a firmware update every time. So these movies were like the last ones I watched. Oh, by the way, like this one's a dual layer, and this one is just a single layer, like on both sides flipper. So like this version of Short Circuit is better than this one theoretically. But anyways, one of the things I really liked when I was watching this is like had the old school like synthesizer voices and a lot of them robots, and they come out of the center channel. They just sound like so perfect and amazing. And I can't do it with my voice. It sounds like it's crossed so low. It's like a spray hose, and it's got like a lot of throatiness. So most of the voice is like coming out of there. And hold on, let me insert a screenshot. So I did record a section on this, but I'm just going to mumble about it because it was a bad take and you couldn't even hear the difference it was making. So what I did is I hooked up the left and right to that amp, just the horn, and I had the variable audio output coming from the TV into this receiver, and then I had the bass drivers disconnected because it was just playing the horn. And then what I did was, went to audio, I was playing a bassy song, and I went to bass, and I adjusted the bass, I slowly turned up the bass so you could hear it. When it was just playing the horn, you could hear when you turned up the bass, it was making the horn distort, which is what I was saying to Danny, is how it was a theoretical advantage that you could, say, have a pair of integrated amps. Have a pair of integrated amps. One integrated amp is driving the bottom, another integrated amp is driving the top drivers. And what you could do is on the bottom integrated amp, just turn up the bass so that it would add bass boost, but not like make the horn distort, like I was demonstrating that it does cause to happen. I understand how a passive crossover works, but the horn, it plays down so low that when you use DSP on something like this and you turn up the bass, it's like it's kind of like making it sloped, you know, where it's like it's starting to touch the mid range with the bass because it hits kind of 1500 is kind of low into the mid range. You don't really need to adjust. That was only for like the 530s that you would want to adjust the bass and not have it mess with the horn, because the problem was when I had the 530s in here, the 530s the 530s are basically just for a desk. They're out there. They're just for a desk. If you want a room, get these. So when I had the 530s here, they would port chuff, and you try to turn that on the bass, and it would affect the horn. Just like I was saying, it was like I had them hooked up. At one point, I had the 530s hooked up through as kind of like these speakers are, as like accessory speakers, and I was feeding them signal that way, and I was like trying to adjust, and had that problem. But like, if you just stick to using the 530s on a desk, the way they're meant to be intended, you don't need to mess with the bass. This series of speakers, this is fine. You don't need to mess with the bass to even worry about affecting the horn. Like, this is a stupid thing anyway. Still mess with the... Don't dramatically adjust your equalization on these speakers because it could have that problem, but... But I guess if you wanted to have a pair of these and have a pair of integrated amps and feed the variable signal through something else, you could like turn up the... That's still a theoretical benefit, but that's stupid. Just forget I'm stupid. Forget I said anything. Ugh, next. So let's ramble some more about how it all works. It's not exactly user-friendly, like with the how you're always having to change the speaker settings for the subwoofer depending on what you're playing. If it would just have a 50 hertz crossover, that'd be swell. And in fact, this, if you look on here, oh wait, how does it? Oh wait, in here you go to speaker distance. See, it says front channel slash sub 8 feet center, you know, but the front and subwoofer is the same setting. So like that's why the subwoofer is on the same axis, because like I don't understand that. Would this receiver come with like tower speakers that had built-in subwoofer? I don't know. That's why I definitely would like to get something with the DSP, you know, separate amps, so I can more properly get the subwoofer action going. But for now, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Like, I love playing 5.1 music on it. It's excellent. So let's talk about some of the ways that we use the different inputs in different formats. So it's the kind of annoying setup where you have to change the picture on the TV, then change the input on this type of deal, and match the two up. So the Blu-ray player here, it has two different inputs we can use. We can use the VCR input, which is the digital audio input, like coaxial digital, so it just sends your Dolby Digital, DTS, all that stuff over. Or you can press the CDR tape button, and it's the 5.1 connectors. So let's talk about how that works, because that's what you would want to use just like for this and this, so you can have it in lossless. Let's open the flap. That flap blocks the, see how I put tape in it? So it blocks the light from that, but it also blocks the remote signal. And of course, I have the display is dark on those. So let's check it out. Hold on. So check out my Starfleet communicator remote for the Blu-ray player. This is probably like one of the best intact one of these. I'm sure all the rest are like in the trash or something because this thing's so old and obsolete. But anyways, you could do lossless, like if you really want to have your DTS HD master audio lossless with a receiver like this, you can do it. But let's talk about the problem of it. Let's go to speaker, set to multi-channel, and then it's got, I have all these set to 0 because I have the multi-channel input. It has, you know, where you adjust the channel level. So the channel level is just adjusted the same as everything else. So the channel level's adjusted on there, but on here, like there's no, I don't know how to adjust like the delay on here, because it has like a thing for milliseconds for the surround channels and one for the center channel. But like, how do you set that? I don't know. And then this has where you can have the speakers small or big, but when you set them to small, it doesn't let you choose what crossover frequency it is, and I can't tell what frequency it is. It sounds like 150 to 200 hertz. So you don't want to do that. If you're using this, you set, first of all, have a system where you can have the speakers set to large, and set all the speakers to large, so that way the only thing coming out of the sub is the LFE channel. And oh baby, when you do that with these, it's amazing. It's both kind of gimmicky, like, okay, let's talk about this one. So it's a flipper disc, but it's the kind of flipper disc where it's labeled wrong. So normally on a flipper disc, the side you're looking at should be the side that faces down. So you put it in, and the label facing up tells you what it is. Like on laser discs, like this is a no-brainer, guys. But this is one of the ones where it's backwards, where the label side is indicating what the reflective surface is. So it's basically, you put in DVD video facing up for the DVD audio. So when you put in the DVD audio disc, it plays in DVD audio format, and it just starts playing it. And then when you want to play the bonus track, you gotta go to the menu. But when you play it on the DVD video side, it has like Dolby Digital and DTS, like, you know, these would. And then of course this one, it has on the menu, you go to choose it on the menu, and you like, instead of, you have to press left, and it makes it go like that way to select DVD audio, and you do that. And then it plays the DVD audio track, which has like DTS 96, DTS 9624. So certain surround sound receivers could play that format, and it was almost as good as like the DVD audio format, but like hard, like I have one in my living room that supports it, I'll talk about someday, but hardly anyone has. I don't know why that format was never supported. It sounded almost as good as the lossless one. And then let's talk about these. These ones, like these ones, you can really tell, that, the stuff going. It truly benefits from that. But all these ones in particular, they don't really mix that much into the center channel because they're counting on the fact that you probably have a small center channel. So all three of these, it doesn't really do much with a center channel. Like you could even just not have a center channel and not notice. Set the center channel to 0 and just remove that, and you wouldn't really. Maybe it'd even be better because it sends a little earth drum. I need to get more of these, by the way. I'd love to get these in FLAC lossless. Why isn't FLAC 5.1 lossless more of a thing? Why? Why is there not more surround sound music? So let's talk about playing other music in surround sound. So these are really fun. You put it in Pro Logic 2 movie mode, all set to small. And blends. The sub really blends really well. Hold on, let's move that. As I was saying, this sub blends really well with these speakers. When you have it set at 80 hertz, and playing bass music like this, really does satisfy really quite nicely. And of course, there's one other rambly thing I should mention, which is that this is kind of a flawed review of these speakers because sometimes it's just like. There's might be distortions, but I'm not sure if it's because the speaker doesn't like the womp womps sometimes, or if it's just this big passive radiator back here. Because this TV is adding bass. This TV is adding bass. It's definitely adding stuff you don't want. If Danny Ritchie were here, he'd be like, okay, you must remove this TV before I can review your system. Okay. It'd probably be better if I had a projection, but I don't have that. That's why it is kind of heinously flawed. Because this is colorizing the sound in ways that it'd be nice if I could A/B comparison the TV being here or not and be like, oh yeah, it's way better without that TV here. But anyways, Dead Mouse, it's awesome. And this album is Finagle, Parcel of Rogues, and this one sounds really good on the system. I'll play this one. It's one of the ones where you don't need the sub. We have all the speakers set to large, have in Pro Logic 2 movie mode, and it's immersive. It was made to be in surround sound. It was awesome. Finagle, Parcel of Rogues. You can find that on Amazon as MP3s, but I'd recommend trying to find a CD of it so you can have it CD quality sound. Which I have a bunch of these. They're sealed. I gave away a bunch. I have 4 left. So come, I don't know, find me and harass me in real life, and I'll give you one of these. Good luck with that. And I just give a shout out to TJ, the Stereo Bargain File, because the way he does his reviews, he's concise, and I end up doing these weird things where there's 3 towers and there's all this weird stuff, which sometimes I kind of like it, when you have it with scope mode where it's left like that, because it's not cutting it into too much for scope movies, and it kind of gives you the psychological effect of being in a real theater because of the way it's like having a person sitting there up in the front row. Kind of makes your brain think oh, there's people here, it's crowded. It's great. Okay, we're going to play a clip from Nightmares on Wax, Mind Elevation, track 2. It's about 2 minutes and 10 seconds to track 2, and we're going to play a clip of it. Oh my god, the copyright strikes are coming. So it's kind of the part that's playing in the center, and then it kind of it kind of came out of the the left and right, and through the surround channel. Kind of make it. I wrote it down as a good example. I'm describing it. And there was this other song in there. I don't remember which track it was, but I swear I was doing this awesome thing where it's kind of coming from the center channel, and it'd be playing the center channel, have things coming off the side, while it's have the parts still coming out of the center channel. It's excellent. It's definitely worth it to set this up for a few months and try all kinds of different stuff on it. I play ASMR videos now that I have a PS3, and some of those are just amazing. The way it kind of and it even goes behind in just the right way, and it's the type of thing you need to experience. I can't describe it. And so the way I do the actual audio when I'm watching movies is I'll play it through the PS3 and I'll adjust the picture like I showed you to put the scope image up there, and then I'll just use the optical input. So I put it on VOX, and Dolby Atmos stuff, it'll turn into Dolby Digital through that, and DTS HD Master Audio will turn into 5.1 DTS. I guess like 7.1 stuff. There's stuff that's like the only track will be 7.1 audio, DTS HD, and then I guess when you play that, it like has this 5.1 track for people who don't have that plays through optical. Like I could get lossless surround sound like through the Blu-ray player if I wanted, but like it doesn't have the adjustment for distance, so I'd rather have it be calibrated for speaker distance than be lossless. But like obviously like for these, you'd rather just have it lossless because the speaker distance doesn't really matter because the sound level is still calibrated, so whatever. I guess we'll talk about these Bic Venturis. I had those Polks there that I was wanting to review, but I've had these up there for a while because they're just better and they kick ass. What I'd like to try sometime is what I used to do on my other system where I had 5.1 and then accessory speakers is I'd play the music in 5.1. I mean, in Pro Logic, you know, the CD player playing Pro Logic, and then I'd have stereo playing through there, so it'd be Pro Logic and stereo. It made it sound like extra reinforced. I'm gonna try that sometime on the system, but I think there'd be lag because it's the way it's going through the TV. I don't know. I get like a separate DAC. It's just I don't know. I'm too lazy to try that the way it is now. But I should try that sometime before I change this. But actually, I have to give it up for these Bic Venturi speakers because when I'm listening to music through these speakers, it images really well. Like, it sounds like there's surround sound coming from these, when there's music playing from these side speakers, these Bic Venturis, it sounds like it's using the surround sound, but it's not. It's just imaging really well. So there you go. These, well, they're more expensive. That sucks. But as soon as I made the review of these, the price of these Bic Venturis went up. So it's like, I guess not everybody would like these speakers. Like if you, I like them because you can pretty much. Another thing too is like it seems like when it's kind of sounds like kind of harsh and distorted when you sit closer, that seems to go away. Like the weird speakers, they like just work better generally when you're closer. So I don't know. I definitely want to try using some Class D amps with these speakers. Like if I could, wish SMSL would make a surround sound receiver. Just make a surround sound receiver with a bunch of those amps in it, so you can buy up all the speakers. Because the 5.3s with that Class D amp on my desk, they sound really clean. They sound way cleaner than these, just by virtue of the amp being better. So I'm pretty sure that if you use these with better amps, you'd get better results at higher volumes. Like a lot of times when you just turn the volume down, like say I'm listening to some of these in like Pro Logic 2 music mode, just turn down the volume a little bit and then it becomes cleaner, it's nicer. And and here's another conundrum I should have mentioned as well, is that when you set the speakers to large, so Pro Logic 2 movie mode, playing music, have the speaker set to large, it makes the bass all go to the center channel, and the center channel has like kind of similar girth to the subwoofer. So you have it where just the bass is coming out of these speakers, and it's like heavy. The bass will sound like more heavy duty than if you're using the sub. But of course, the problem with that is it's going to overheat the receiver, so that's why you'd want to cross it over. You have to like basically pick your poison, basically. And sometimes it ruins your listening experience. You're like, I want to change the mode, and like then you're just messing with it endlessly. It depends. Like if you know you're not going to be like super blasting, you can set the speakers to large, and then or you could like set the speakers to large and use. One thing you could do also is you could set the speakers to large and then set it to subwoofer plus, where it's playing all large and then also the sub. What you do is plug the wire into the regular input on the sub, and then use the pass filter to like tune it down. So, but like the sub would be only playing like subs would be playing. These would be playing full range, but then the sub would just kind of just adding in below. But then that's another case of where you'd have to be messing with it each time. So definitely wish I had better subwoofer management. But yeah, on this receiver, it's kind of nerdy the way it's set up. Like you can have the speaker set to all the speakers to small, and then you can have it set, because when you put it in direct mode, it just makes the speakers play full range no matter what. And then you can have it each, like in stereo mode and direct mode, you can set direct mode to where subwoofer is turned off, and then you can set, like each different mode has different volume levels. So when I set it to direct on this, no matter what the speakers are set to, it makes just the left and right pull play just full range, no sub. So that way you can check on it. Like you could be like playing Pro Logic 2 movie mode in small, using the sub and the surrounds, and then you can click, and then bam, you know, cross-reference it. So a lot of times it sounds better that way. Just put it in stereo, put it in direct. And these speakers, it's like, I don't even need the sub. They got enough womp womp usually on their own. But of course, you can't turn it up super loud because that's the thing. You always have to change the settings like that. It's kind of nerdy. It's not like user-friendly. It's not the type of system you would like let your friends just do whatever they want with. If you're going to let your friends use this, put it on speaker set to small, and then probably just turn the crossover all the way up to 120. Because that's all this receiver does, 80, 100, and 120. You have to pick one. It's the only three you get. And a lot of times on some of that really basic music, I'll put it up to 120. And it works pretty good. I think about 100. If you really like to blast your music and have the sub do the bass, I set it like at 100. It seems to be the most optimal. Something about 100. But you don't want to have it at 100. It makes it look more noticeable. So you want to have it like 100 is probably optimal, but it still works really good at 80 crossed with a sub. And yeah, let's talk about that. So it's missing the feet, which I could probably just screw something on the bottom, at least so it's like kind of like, you know, has some kind of sticks to the carpet. But I just figured like I'd put that on there so it wouldn't slide as much. I'm not sure what the difference is of having it like that versus stock, but what are you gonna do? I don't know. This is marking where the E250P was in case I wanted to swap back to it. But as soon as I was using this, I was like, there's no way. I mean, it doesn't quite hit as deep, but it's so much cleaner. It's it adds so much premiumness to your home theater. It's excellent. I almost wish they had a 10-inch version of this. I think though, if I had two of these, maybe I should get another one of these. And even if the amp blows out, I could just de-amp them both and use like a crown amp, like Zeos did. Oh, you heard it turn off just now. It just went click. It turned off. It usually seems to do a pretty good job of turning on when it's supposed to and turning off. Some subs. This one actually does. I think it does have a cancel for the auto on, but some subs they don't have a auto off cancel, so they'll just turn off sometimes, like when you don't want them to. Like that's why you don't want to have a wussy little center channel, because then you have to have it cross over with the sub. And then when you turn down the volume really low, the subwoofer cuts out, and then all of a sudden it sounds really thin, like when you're listening to like, someone talks like this, baby. I can't do a low voice. Someone talks like, you know, really low. They sound like now, because that's what you want, a center channel that can handle all that girth. I'm definitely going to try sticking this in there sideways at some point. I'm thinking about just turn that sideways, stick it in there, put these ones as the surround channels, put the 590s. You know, I think maybe if I had a chunky amplifier, I could just use the 590s and not even need a sub. I've not actually tried the 590s in this room. I was scared. It's going to make the TV rattle. I wish I could like dig a basement, because this TV is really good for old school video games, because you don't need like a frame meister or any of that crap. You can just plug your composite, your S-video, your component. It just handles all that old school stuff by default. There's no lag. You can play all your Super Nintendo, all this stuff without any issues. And it still plays stuff in high def. Really, it does the best of everything really well. It'd be a shame to just have to get rid of it. But I mean, I'm thinking about it. Like when the lamp goes out, should I just like get rid of this thing? I don't know. I have nowhere to store the damn thing. So what are you gonna do? That's why I'm using this slot setup. I mean, if I had somewhere to put it, I might have moved it out of the way and had a little flat screen like in between these here. Had these pushed up a little more. Like I said, and I can't even move the thing by myself. I don't have friends. How am I going to do that? Can't be done. Well, I guess that concludes this ramble. I'm definitely gonna like do something about this seating situation, because this couch is just so uncomfortable. I'm gonna like turn the speaker sideways and put my IKEA couch in here, and it'll be more comfortable. I don't know. I don't have like. I'd love to go and buy like a couch that could like curve. I don't have unlimited budget. That'd be nice. Somebody please just donate me a bunch of cash. Just throw it inside the nearest abandoned building, and it will make its way to me, and then I can buy badass Batman curved couch. But I don't think I have anything else to say for the time being. Maybe we'll do another update. If you're subscribed for my prank call content and you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. You're probably the only one. If you're subscribed for my prank call content and you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. You're probably the only one. If you're subscribed for my prank call content and you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. You're probably the only one. haven't been able to do that recently because, quite frankly, I'm just scared of the way people are crazy about the C word thing down there. And I feel like me being down there, it's a risk to my life. And it's just not worth it anymore for this silly thing. Unless I can find some phones away from Los Angeles where people aren't crazy. And I'll probably be shanked by a homeless person if I keep doing it. You know what I mean? It's like, is it worth it anymore? One of the hobo stores I was down there, the hobos were chasing me all around. I was trying to use the phones. They're like getting up with my business. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll get back to doing it once a month. But haven't been making videos because I've got rocks in my shoes. And I'm finally getting the rocks out of my shoes. So maybe I'll go back to making regular content, be more coherent. Or whatever. We'll see. Thank goodness I'm finally getting the rocks out of my shoes, though. It's just going to take some time.